Hi, welcome to Healthy Eating. My name is Alea Leyland, and this is a video dialogue of the book Healthy Eating, a book of transition recipes for your health and well-being. Greetings, this is Alea, and this is the first segment of the Healthy Eating video series to go with the Healthy Eating ebook. The ebook was compiled mainly to track my journey of eating raw. And in the process, what I noticed was a lot of people didn't know how to put the foods together in order to make a really tasty meal. I am very much into transition foods, or what is called transition foods. It's mainly that the foods taste like cooked foods, but they have the wholesomeness of raw. And what I've learned is that when you eat this way, you do lose weight. And some people never get beyond transition. Other people go the ninja route, which is what Dan McDonald does, and Lou Corona, and there's many others. And I occasionally go that route and eat, really high total raw kind of foods and a lot of juices and whatnot. But for the most part, I do transition eating. So on page 1 of the Healthy Eating book is a green juice and what looks like scrambled eggs and sausage. What it really is, the green juice is really a green juice, but the scrambled eggs is actually an almond and sunflower pate, and the sausage is the pulp from doing beets and carrots. And I also added to that some nuts and some mushrooms. Now most of the time when you do these things, it's kind of like an actual recipe is difficult because every time it's to taste. Vegetables, when you're using real food, sometimes it's sweeter, sometimes it's not so sweet, sometimes it's tart, sometimes it's not so tart. So you kind of have to play with it in order to get it to taste just the way you want it to. But the green juice is what I'm going to tell you about today, plus a couple of other things. And to make this green juice, it was several leaves of kale. And there's a trick to getting the most of the juice out of the kale if you're not using a champion juicer or one of the single auger juicers, and that is to put the kale in your chute of your juicer, your centrifugal juicer. Put it in first with the motor off, and then put something else in there on top of it, like some apple or whatever, and then turn it on and press it through, and you'll get more juice out of the leaves. So this particular drink is kale and lemon, a whole lemon, and you cut the rind off the lemon, but you don't get rid of the white. So you really want to have that white in there. There's a lot of vitamins in that, so you want to keep that. And then there's celery and apple and a little bit of ginger. I use about an inch of ginger, an inch and a half sometimes. If it's a winter morning, I use more because ginger is very warming. But that's how you make that green drink that's there. And it's juice. I don't do smoothies so much, or at least when I first started I didn't. Now I'm doing a lot more smoothies. Okay, let's move along to page 2. I don't want these videos to be very long. So on page 5, because we skipped over the other page because it had the same thing on it. So on page 5, we're looking at kale chips. Kale chips are a wonderful snack, and they keep me from eating potato chips. So if I can remember to make kale chips, I will not eat potato chips. The other thing that I just learned recently that I think that those of us who are salt cravers, might find to be useful information is that craving salt is a symptom of adrenal fatigue. And so when I started taking a stress formula to support my adrenals, I noticed that my desire for salty things kind of went down. If I forget to take it, it goes back up. So I think there may be something to that. But kale chips are very easy to make. and they're very hard to keep in the house after you make them. So the recipe is there on the page at the bottom to tell you how to make the kale chips. I would suggest that you make them and put them in the dehydrator and leave home, because if you stay at home, you're going to eat them. They're really yummy, but it's a good thing to have around, and even little kids like them because they're crunchy, they're salty, and they're really good for you. After all, haven't you guys heard that thing about kale being the new beef? Okay, the next page, which is page 7, is onion rings. And I loved onion rings when I was eating cooked food. They're really not good for you. You know, they've got all that grease and they've got flour, and I don't eat wheat anyway. And so, but I did miss them. It was kind of like, oh, I'm giving up onion rings. And then I figured out how to make onion rings. All of the ingredients are there on the page for the onion rings. There is a little trick. Make sure that they're really cold when you're working with them, because it causes the first mixture to stick to them better, and it also causes the meal to stick to them better. And this is another one that you want to leave home or go to sleep when you're making it, because otherwise the smell is going to drive you crazy, and you're going to keep opening the dehydrator and you're going to eat it all before it's done. The savory soup on page 8 is really yummy, and it's really good for a cold day. So, and all of the ingredients are there on how to make it. There's a little trick to making soups and to making salad dressings, and that is, you know, you get all the ingredients. The raw food thing to me seems to be about texture, and I'll go into that more on other videos, but it seems to be about texture and taste sensations, and we have sour, sweet, pungent, bitter, and hot, I think it is, or something like that. But there's like 5 or 6 flavors, and if you can get all of those flavors into a food, then the food is satisfying. The other thing is, if you can get the texture of the cooked food into the raw food, then it's satisfying and it tastes good. So I hope this has been helpful to you. I am going to go right through the book, page by page, and tell you what it is that you're looking at and what little tricks I use to get there. So until next video, have a great evening and enjoy something yummy.